what's going on YouTube? I watched Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and I think the movie is phenomenal. I really do. I don't know which one I liked between the first one or the second one. I feel like the human side was portrayed better. We got more of a inside and what happened and how they would react through a crisis like that, and it was quite wonderful. And I thought the human side was better portrayed than in the first movie. It wasn't as boring or felt like it was distracting from Caesar's plot. Um, but it also did a good job at seeing what the humans had been in the last 10 years with the dysfunctional living areas that they've been living in. And it was quite wonderful, and it was heartwarming, especially when we get the scene where the power is back on, and they look through the tablets and the remembrance. It was quite sad, of course. And yeah, so I just feel like they did it better. The only problem I had with it is, well, I had two main problems. The problem one is it's a long movie, and you can feel it's a long movie. By the time they get to the third act, it's like, wow, this is a long movie. Like, the first one's an hour and a half. It's like an hour and 45 minutes, and this one's 2 hours and 15 minutes. So within an extra 30 minutes, you can feel that extra 30 minutes. Um, but it's still used wonderfully. I just wish with this extra time they could have added more characters. Not even more characters, more attention to characters that personally I was looking for. When I first watched this movie, I really was interested in the relationships between Ash and Blue Eyes, and of course, Ash being Rocket's son. I really grew in love with Rocket, and so when I rewatched the trilogy, I really looked for Rocket. It made me like Rocket a lot more. And of course, there's this big scene at the end of towards the end of the movie, beginning of the third act, where Rocket's son Ash dies, and it's like no one reacts. No one's like, "Wow, that just happened," and it's like they all freeze and no one reacts. No one's angry. No one's sad. It's like, okay, that happened. Now let's go get these humans because they've tortured all of these apes. No one ever stopped and thought about it. No one took a second. And and especially Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes just sat there. And later on, he comes to terms with his. He sees his dad, and he tells Caesar that Ash died, but no one ever tells Rocket. I mean, his son just died, and he has no idea, and no one takes a second and goes, Rocket, your son, he's dead. No one no one thought it would be like a good idea to tell the father of the person who just died that his son died. I'm like, why wouldn't you say anything? So that was the two parts that I had a major problem with. And it was a major problem. It's just like, why wouldn't you tell him? And like, okay, the movie feels a little bit long at some points, but all in all, this is a beautiful movie. I mean, from the start, we get this beautiful scene where we see their hunting, and we see the progression, we see the rankings, we see the brotherhood between Caesar and Koba. We see the ranking of Caesar's the people around Caesar, and we see their rankings and their classifications and the progression of their homeland. We also are introduced to Blue Eyes, Caesar's son, and it's it's a wonderful scene. It's quite beautiful, and intensely it shows a lot of stuff, and it shows what has the progression that the group has made in the last 10 years. Um, and it's just a great starter point. We see Cornelius be born. I don't think they ever even say his name, um, which is kind of funny. But we get the progression, and everything is just so wonderful. And this really is a movie of ideology and the war between ideologies, where Caesar was raised with humans and loving and sees the good and the bad, where Koba has only seen the bad. And they play off each other as a Dr. King and a Malcolm X comparison. I thought it was quite beautiful. And uh, and it comes to the terms where Koba just couldn't accept the fact that they would be okay with humans, and he pretty much had a descent into madness where he would call Caesar his brother, and throughout the movie he would go so far to try to kill him, burn his like Koba killed many people. He killed a lot of humans, but his descent into madness and control, he shot Caesar, made everyone think Caesar was dead, burned their home, all to blame the humans so that he can start a war with the humans. And he killed many humans, and then he put many humans into concentration camps of a sort. And anyone who was too loyal for from Caesar would also be put in a in a bus where they were unable to be free, like put into a concentration type thing for people he believed to be too loyal. And his regards for the apes' lives were none of the less. He would just absolutely he wouldn't care. He throw away any ape to the side. He would kill someone to steal their horse, and if his right hand man got blew up by a rocket launcher, he wouldn't care. And if someone dare question his leadership, he he would literally kill them. And that's the point of how he killed Ash. He killed Rocket's son in front of all these apes, and it's all because Ash refused to kill a human, and he's like, Caesar wouldn't want this. Instead of like throwing him in the bus with the rest of the people who were too loyal with Caesar, he grabs Ash and throws him off a balcony and kills him. And I mean, that scene gave me chills. It was so sad and emotional, and to the point where Koba has so much control where no one did anything about it. I mean, all of these guys have guns. Blue Eyes has a gun, and Koba just killed his best friend, and he just sat there. And it shows the power dynamic of what Caesar was talking about, where apes will follow anyone with power, and they let him lead him right into war, and he just killed an ape. When Caesar was in charge, apes strung together, apes not kill apes, the whole thing. As soon as Koba is in charge, he throws away these apes like they're nothing. He uses them to his advantage, and if anyone would stand in his way, he kills them or discards of them. And it was it's such an interesting thing. And then as soon as and it's just it goes on about how Koba's descent into madness was so impactful that he couldn't even stop it. Caesar couldn't stop it. And Caesar at the end, he grew. He he even said it himself, like he was a little biased. He thought apes were better than humans, and he knew humans were good, humans were bad, and humans are destructive and abusive, and he knew a lot of bad stuff, but he didn't see the concept of what Koba is. And Koba also is abusive and destructive, and his hatred for humans grew past such a point where he would discard apes, where Caesar would never discard any apes because those are his brothers and sisters, those are his family. And that's what Caesar wanted. He just wanted family. And it's such a beautiful, wonderful thing. It makes Caesar such a good guy, but at the end of it, he can point out and say, apes not kill apes. But you're beyond an ape. You are acting human like. The one thing you hated so much, Koba became the worst parts, what he hated about humankind. And it was very interesting. And a side note, that was it. That's what I loved about the relationship between Koba and Caesar. It was really impactful, and a lot of people followed Koba. They were on his side. They even helped sabotage Caesar at some points, and it was very interesting. But a very small thing I noticed is that Caesar, Blue Eyes, and Koba were the most human-like. They had the most process, and it just makes sense that people would look at to him as a leader or a military leader or some sorts of a mentor or a leader, and they used that responsibility and used it in different ways. And it was also a very just a habit of, you can look at them. Koba Koba, Caesar, and Blue Eyes were very humanoid, where all the apes were all on all fours and made noises and stuff like that, where these three would walk on their hind legs like they were humanized. They were humanoid apes. It was just something that I noticed. It was very interesting, and I actually quite loved it. And it added the extra human factor, because Caesar's the most human of them all, and like I said earlier, Koba became the human side he's always seen and hated from humans. And it was very beautiful. And that's what I love about these movies, is they're about talking apes, but it's really all about human emotions. It's quite wonderful, and I love it very much. Um, what else? I mean, everything was so perfect. I mean, Blue Eyes was a very interesting character, and his interest and his relationship, his anger with his father, and his relationship with Koba, who he saw more like an uncle, and he led into his relationship with Koba blind his side of what his dad was saying. It was just quite interesting, and I do like Blue Eyes. He basically is the hero of the story, um, truthfully. Of course, Caesar's the hero, but Blue Eyes came through at the end, even though he had a complicated relationship and he had complicated feelings with both sides and both ideologies. When at first he was very strong with Koba, but when he saw Koba's um, plan play out, he was like, "Yeah, this is not what we wanted at all," and he ended up making the right decision, of course. Also, Maurice. I mean, Maurice was kind of in the background a bit, but I think she was quite amazing, and she was still Caesar's left hand, of course, and it was quite an interesting pound for pound, where even at the beginning of the movie, she's telling Caesar, Caesar, I've known nothing good about humans. You've had good with humans, but I haven't. Koba hasn't. We have no reason to trust humans. But she was so intrigued with humans, and such she like with her being in a circus orangutan, like she learned stuff. She was very smart and she was very educated, and she wanted to learn more. And she was just wonderful. So when she had the opportunity to learn more about humans, she stuck with it. And when it became these good humans, she realized that these were good people. She put herself in harm's way into fighting Koba to protect these humans. And it was quite wonderful. She becomes a very good character, even though she was kind of in the background in this movie. I wish I wanted to see more. She's Caesar's left hand, and it was really a war between Caesar and his right hand, and it leads into it. But with Koba out, we finally get Rocket as a right hand and Maurice as a left hand, as it always should be. I'm very happy to see the next movie. I'm interested to. I don't know why I'm so like obsessed with like the power ranking, but I really want Maurice on the left and Rocket on the right. I don't know why it's important to me, but it just makes me so happy when I'm like, yes, this is the trio we need. We need Caesar, Maurice, Rocket, and we need Blue Eyes on the like, you know, on the far left. Like he's there, but he's not quite in the military circle. But so I'm really excited for the next movie. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is a very good movie. A 5 out of 5. I love this movie. I love these two movies, and I'm very excited to review the third movie right after I watch it.